Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Girl of Gen Z podcast. I'm your host, Clarissa, and today I have a special guest by the name of Hannah Ashton on today's episode. Hannah is a 20-year-old female entrepreneur that has a YouTube channel and a podcast. She also is a small business owner of a workbook planner that she has created and is now selling. Before jumping onto the episode, I just wanted to say that if you are watching/listening to this on the YouTube platform, it would be much appreciated if you could hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified every time I have a new upload, whether that's a podcast episode or a YouTube video. And if you are listening to this on the podcast app, if you could hit the subscribe button over there and leave a review and preferably 5 stars just to know how I'm doing, it would be appreciated more than you know. Without further ado, let's get on into this episode. Hi, Hannah. Welcome to the Girl of Gen Z podcast. How are you?
Hi, Clarissa. I am doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, it's raining today, and with everything going on in the world right now, it definitely has been hard to keep, positive, uplifting spirits, but I'm doing my best, as I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. It's also raining here, so it just adds to the gloom. But here we are.
Yeah.
We're still showing up. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk to you.
Which is important. And I'm happy to have you on today and kind of take this negative stuff that's going on in the world and turn it into something a little bit more positive. I want to dive into your journey of being the young female entrepreneur that you are and share your story with everyone because I think it's a good one and you're so young to like have experienced everything you have thus far and I honestly admire you a lot. I really do.
Well, thank you. I hope this can be helpful.
Okay, so you are a 20-year-old entrepreneur, a female one, and you attend Belmont University in Nashville.
Yes, Nashville gal, Tennessee gal, and I am a sophomore there, and my major is entrepreneurship as well.
So what made you choose that as your major?
I found my love for entrepreneurship, I would say, in high school. I always had the spirit behind me, I guess. I actually remember I didn't know it was entrepreneurship at the time, but back in elementary school, I would make bracelets out of my neighbors. I think it was paper clips, like connect paper clips together and make bracelets and sell them at school for like a couple of cents. And so I would do that. And I found Etsy when I was like 12, and my best friend and I, we were really into sewing and American Girl dolls. So we would like make little hair clips and try to sell them on Etsy. So I had been selling stuff and just really loving the consumer entrepreneur exchange for years without even really knowing what it was. But it was in high school when I started reading like hashtag girl boss by Sophia Amoruso and really understanding what my dad does because he's an entrepreneur and kind of realizing that, oh, this is something that I could so see myself doing. And I actually started YouTube really young as well. I started when I was around 12, when I was getting in that American Girl doll stage. Towards the end of it, I found American Girl doll YouTubers and they were like doing stop motions and hair tutorials and how to clean them. And so I did that as a hobby just for fun. And so I kept with that all through middle school, all through high school. Now my content has changed significantly. Now I do like college lifestyle videos, health and productivity, time management, and then also talk about entrepreneurship since I've created my own businesses in high school and now college, and also do YouTube as well. So that's kind of my introduction to the world of business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you started young, clearly, selling paper clips
Yeah, very
or
young.
paper clip bracelets, I should say. How old are you?
Oh, I cannot remember. Probably in like second grade or something like that. And then, of course, teachers told me you can't sell stuff on school property, and especially things you make with your neighbors' tools and stuff. So it didn't work out, but that's okay.
Did you have a partner in this business or was it just you?
No, that was just me for the first one. Yeah.
That's crazy. So let's dive back a little bit further then into your childhood, and then we'll get more into a little bit more of the entrepreneur talk. So where did you grow up? Do you have any siblings? And what do your mom and dad do? Because I know you said your dad is an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, so I grew up in East Tennessee, right near the mountains. When I was really young, we grew up like on a mountain, basically. And I have one brother. He's 3 years younger than me. And yeah, my dad is an entrepreneur. He builds homes in the Knoxville area in East Tennessee. And then my mom was an actress, but then when she had me as the oldest child. She retired and now helps my dad and still does acting and singing through like directing our school's musicals, that kind of thing, and side hustle stuff. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I grew up in the countryside, I guess you could say, kind of a country girl, but then also through YouTube, I found my love for like New York and LA YouTubers. And so I feel like I have a little bit of both, like the city girl, and both my parents are actually from New York or in Pittsburgh, but they both lived in New York for a time. So a healthy mix of both.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So what were your interests as a kid? Like, were you a dancer, a gymnast, an athlete?
I did all of it. I don't know how, but I think pretty much any sport you can come up with, I did. Starting with like t-ball, and then went into softball, did volleyball, did dance for a few years, gymnastics, equestrian, volleyball, basketball, golf, like literally everything. Like every season, I was doing something new. And then in middle school, I also found love for like choir and musical theater. So I have always just been juggling a lot of plates and doing a lot of things. And I think that's kind of what makes me who I am today, where I have a business and I have a YouTube channel and I'm also in college and, trying to build, a career as well. And so that initiative to like be doing all the things, I think definitely started young and attributes to what I do today. But yeah, I love doing all the things and always went to a smaller school as well, a small private school. So that's also where I go to college. Belmont is a smaller Christian college, and so I'm used to having more of like a one-on-one connection with professors and fellow classmates, which also I think is just how I like to learn. And so yeah, a little bit more about me than I normally share.
Would you say you're more of a visual learner or an auditory learner or tactile, or are you a mixture of both? Because you mentioned that you like the more one-on-one and I guess smaller class sizes.
Right. I found hearing and seeing the lectures. I don't need to do like a project. I don't really need to do like a game or something with it. I can watch a lecture, but then having engagement with the professor, with the teacher is important for me. So asking questions like as they come up in my head, and just having a really, I guess, verbal, just conversation with whoever I'm learning with is really helpful for me.
Right, right. Okay, that's awesome. So what were there any courses in high school, I guess, that kind of push you in the direction of what major you want to choose in college, or was it completely just like YouTube and your podcast that kind of helped shape that push and movement?
It was all YouTube and podcasting and just finding mentors through the digital space, like other female entrepreneurs on Instagram and just getting inspiration from them. Yeah, my high school didn't have any business courses actually, now that I look back. And so it was very small. I was the first graduating class of that high school. And so we were like the
Wow.
guinea pigs of everything. And so no formal business classes. I had learned everything through podcasts and books and YouTubers. And then now I'm being opened up to so much more as I am a business major, and basically all my classes now are focused around that.
Well, that's awesome. The fact that you went from not having any of this and exposed to you in high school and you had to make the decision based on what you've learned in the digital space on the freaking internet. That's awesome to hear that that kind of helped you push into the direction you did.
Yeah, it's so easy nowadays to learn pretty much whatever you want online, even things you would normally go through education for, like business. And I know a lot of people say that, college or high school doesn't teach you how to start a business. So you can just do it by yourself online through all the amazing resources out there, even if you are getting a business degree. I'm in a little bit of a different step because of entrepreneurship. It's so specific. It does lead me through how to start a business. But I did go through a lot of this already in high school just through self learning and teaching.
Yeah. So you started a business before you enrolled in this school, correct?
Yes, so I did a few different things in high school. So I considered YouTube partially a business as I did make money. That was like my main job throughout high school was YouTube, sponsorships, collaborations, AdSense, all of that. And then around my junior year, I decided I wanted to do something a little bit more. So I was always getting questions about how to start a YouTube channel, how to make a YouTube thumbnail, how to title your videos to help with the algorithm, all these things. And I was really trying to teach myself this as my channel began to grow. And so I actually did YouTube consulting throughout like my junior to senior year of high school. So I started out with just a one-on-one call with fellow viewers who wanted to talk with me and work through things with me. And then a few months later, I decided to do more of like a program. So I did a 6 week, I believe it was 6 week course. And every week we'd have a virtual call just like this one and go over steps of how they could lay out their channel and really make it a personal brand as well. And then when I went to college, I did stop doing the consulting just time wise. But then I did my first in person event, which is a whole nother business. I was not expecting it to be that difficult, but it kicked my butt for sure. I learned a lot through it. But I did an in person event here in Knoxville. And that was August, right before I went into my freshman year of college. It had about 45 attendees. It was 3 hours. I spoke about personal branding. We had other female entrepreneurs speak and talk about Instagram, and it was a great experience, but it was definitely a learning curve. I've done one other event since then. It was last June in Chicago for Chicago bloggers, focused around that. So I would say those have been like my other outlets of income besides just YouTube and the business I have now. It's doing the consulting for a little bit and then the occasional in-person event.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. So, knowing what you know now, just with having, a little bit of school under your belt in entrepreneurship, is there anything you feel like you would have done differently when running those events? Because at the time, you weren't in college yet, so you didn't gain any of their knowledge and information.
Honestly, I can't pinpoint anything I would do differently. Obviously, I made a ton of mistakes going through it, like not giving myself enough time or doing going for, the biggest, grandest that I could instead of really focusing in on a budget. But I don't think I would give up the experience just because it was such a lesson learned. And now that I have that under my belt of hosting two events, like going forward, I feel like that's a skill set that's really hard to learn in a class. Like calling sponsors, getting companies to sponsor an event, not just a YouTube video, was different for me. Making sure your attendees come and leave fulfilled, leave happy with the value and the material you give them. And then also the whole selling tickets aspect as well. It was my first time, well, along with consulting, like selling something to my audience. And it's just, yeah, definitely different than just posting content. So I don't think I would change anything because I learned a lot, but there are definitely mistakes that I could have avoided if I had prior knowledge.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. Um, I feel like, what was I gonna say? Did you charge people to come to this event?
Yeah, so tickets were $35 for the 3 hour, 3.5 hour event.
Okay, and were each events that you've done about the same time, or like 3 hours each?
Yes. Yes, and I love doing it, like, I think both of them also were on a Saturday morning, like 10 AM start time. We have a brunch, you get a goodie bag included. So, tried to make it the events that I always love to attend. I love attending workshops and things where I can learn more about how to grow my business and just network. And so I try to encapsulate everything that I love about events I go to into my own. And so that kind of went in with bringing the costs up because I'm like, no, we have to have the best coffee and we have to have the cutest like photo shoot areas, but that's just my creative side going ahead of my business side.
Yeah, yeah, understandable for sure. What did your parents think about that, of you putting on this event, especially at such a young age, like being like, "Hey, I'm gonna run this." What did they think?
Yeah, so both of my parents have always been really proud of me and supporting me. But it's never like they come up to me and I tell them an idea and they give me like, "Oh, I don't know if you can do this." They're always like pretty just what's the word? Like nonchalant about it, if that kind of makes sense. Like they'll be positive. They'll be like, okay, so that sounds good. Like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do this? It's not like, what are you thinking? Why are you putting down all of this money of your savings? All these things. But in that regard as well, I don't lean on them for help in that aspect as well. They're kind of just like a mentor. They're not, I've always done all of my business opportunities out of my own pocket, out of money I've made. And I just go to them for advice. It's not like I put the event on them to run. I think all they did to help was the setup and the cleanup of it. And I think it was funny. I don't think my dad was, I was so nervous leading up to this event, so nervous, more nervous than I've been for anything I'd done before. And I don't think he understood really why I was so nervous till he showed up and then saw like these women that were his age or my age. Like most of the women there were older than me. And so saw all these women coming in and he's like, wow, my daughter is putting on something for these women who are significantly older than her. And okay, I'm going to help her now. Like, we got to set this up. We got to make sure the audio is right, the video is going. But I think it is funny to kind of watch their reaction because It's probably not like most parents. I'm kind of thankful that they see my independence and kind of just let me go for it and then just help where they can along the way.
Right, right. My heart is so warm just hearing that story. Like that's incredible that your parents were like, "All right, we're going to make this work. This is going to be awesome." And just are that support system that are there with you along the way. So that's really good to hear. But yeah, I definitely have to agree with they don't teach you everything in school with how to run an event and doing all the little things. So, yeah, you definitely have a one up I feel like with a lot of other entrepreneurs in the sense that you've really gone above and beyond and essentially want it to be the best of the best, like, you're not gonna settle for anything less.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I just have an idea and I go for it. I've always been like that. Like when I wanted to start a YouTube channel, I'm like, okay, I want to do this. Let's start it. When I wanted to do an event, I was like, what could go wrong? Let's do it. When I wanted to create my workbook planner, I was like, I want to do a physical product. Let's just look into how this would be and go for it. So definitely has its pros and cons, as I should probably do more planning and layout before I jump into a new venture. But it's also, I think, what prohibits so many people, maybe even young people, is like, oh, I don't know. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the 10 years experience in a career of consulting for me to start YouTube consulting. And for some reason, I just always look past that and say, oh, I'll figure it out as I go and I'll do as much research as I can with the resources that are available to me and then learn from there.
Yeah, you definitely make good use of what you have around you, so that's good to see as there's more and more millennials and people like us, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of change of pace, and then we'll come back to the YouTube and podcast talk. What made you choose, to go away to school?
I think a big part of it was I wanted to try something new instead of just staying home and continuing to work on my business. Since I had the opportunity to go to school and it's what all my friends were doing, like that's just what everyone talks about during your senior year of high school. Like, oh, where are you going to college? And it's like, okay, I'll choose a college. And so I chose Belmont because it's in Nashville, so it's 3 hours away from my hometown, and I felt like that was a good distance for commuting back and forth, but also like having my own life. I also love Nashville. It's a very up and coming city, a lot of creatives, obviously in the music industry, but just all over as well. And so I wanted to be in a city that was very up and coming and, supported entrepreneurs. And then Belmont has a great entrepreneurship and business program. And I love the school itself. It's a gorgeous campus. And then just read a lot of great reviews about their entrepreneurship program and was like, you know what? You can never learn too much. So I want to go see what I can learn from this program specifically.
That's awesome. So did any of your friends from high school go the same university? Or sorry, I guess I say university because I'm used to that in Canada, but I guess for you guys
Oh,
it's
yeah, I call
college.
it a university too. Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. So did your friends all go to Belmont as well, or were they all kind of dispersed into different schools? And was that a deciding factor for you at all, being like influenced by your friends going to different schools or being like, I'm gonna break away and go on my own?
Yeah, so I think everyone now, like I said, my graduating class was really small. You're going to be shocked. It had 15 people.
Wait, so
Yeah.
how many people were in the school?
So the school is pre-K through 12th grade, and there's like under 400 students.
Oh,
So it's
but you
very,
said
very small.
you said it was a private school, right?
Yes.
So how big are your classes in high school? Or
So
I
we
guess it's
would
not
kind
high
of,
school.
yeah, well, the high school is like separate. So we would kind of mix. So sometimes I'd have like 11th graders in with me as a senior. So probably about 20 students in a classroom at a time.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes way less though. Like sometimes you could have 10 students. Yeah.
So in that 15 graduating, how many girls were and how many were guys?
Oh man, why I think it was split half and half around that. Maybe a little
Okay.
bit a few more girls. Belmont's different though. Belmont's like 70% girls. Yeah.
Wow. Was that an adjustment?
Um Not really, I would say. I mean, I'm in the business college, which is actually the opposite. There's more men in the business college than females, so I'm more of like at a normal college university on that ratio, but yeah, so from my high school, no one else went to Belmont in my graduating year. We all kind of scattered everywhere, and I loved my grade because we were like a family. So, we fought like a family, laughed like a family with 15 students by the end of the 4 years. You basically know everything about everyone. So, loved that time, but I was ready for something new. And even though Belmont is small, my grade has like 2,000 students, which is significantly more than 15. So, it was an adjustment even as going into a small college.
Wow, that's wild. I couldn't even imagine being with 15. Just like you could just be one little line. Like that's it. Like with your
Uh-huh.
caps on. Like it's
That was
crazy.
it.
So you're obviously happy with the decision you made into going away to Belmont. Was there any other school that was like kind of top tier for you and you're kind of deciding between, or were you pretty like headstrong with Belmont?
The other school that I would say I was choosing between was University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So it's one of the bigger state schools here in Tennessee. And so, typical like SEC school, you have the sororities, you have the football, you have all of those, typical American university aspects. And for me, I just decided that I would want something a little bit different. I have friends who go there and I can always visit them. But for me, I wanted more of like a smaller education setting. So that's why I chose Belmont.
Do you feel like you're losing out on anything being at Belmont? Because you said the other scene seems more like, I guess, the typical American dream, what you see in the movies.
It depends on the day. There's some days I'm like, you know what? Oh, I wish I could, have that experience that my friends there are having. But then other days, um, I'm just like, are you ever in class? so, so it's really funny. I feel like I'm able to focus more on what I love. And for me, doing all of this, I've always been on a different path, which is totally fine. I mean, yeah, like some days I wish I didn't have all of this so I could just, pretend to be like a normal college student, but I do have a lot of responsibilities with the platform that I've built. And so I just decided to take a different path and focus more on like building those strong friendships, focusing on my schooling and on growing my brand as well. So it's a trade
Right.
off.
Yeah, yeah. So your schooling's 4 years?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Um, do you plan on doing anything after that, like in regards to like your master's or continuing your education, or do you have like a different mindset?
I don't think I'm going to go further into education. I do not mind school. Like I've always been good at showing up to class, taking notes, taking the test, moving forward. My brain just works well with that. But I can't see myself going further into school just because I love having my own experiences, doing my thing so much. One cool opportunity that I am taking part of, hopefully in August, if everything stays on track, is I'm doing a program through Belmont where you get to actually intern in New York for a semester and do online classes, but for the same tuition price as I would be paying in Nashville. So I applied and got into that. So the goal for next semester, for fall semester, is to be in New York, and that's going to bring totally new experiences. And I'm hoping I can kind of learn through an internship opportunity, maybe more of like a field of work I don't want to go into in case I don't do my own thing. But we'll see. So I'm just trying to get as much like diverse experiences in college as possible to kind of figure out what I want to do by the time I graduate.
Okay, awesome. You cut out just for a split second. So you said um, to move to New York and go to what kind of career? Sorry, I just missed that part.
Oh, just whatever internship I get. I want to do an internship hopefully in like fashion or beauty world just because there's so many opportunities there in New York for that. So many businesses and I'd love to work in a female founded or female run business to kind of see what that looks like and get ideas, for my own business as well. And yeah, just kind of see what the difference is between running your own business or working more in like a corporate or for another business would look like.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. I really do hope it works out for you because I can completely see you there in New York. And I feel like there's a lot of other influencers there as well and bloggers and networking opportunities would be so ample in that space.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely growing on the YouTuber scene. I feel like it used to all be LA and now we're seeing them all spread out more.
Yeah. Do you remember when there was like this one summer where like it was Megan Rosette, I don't know if you remember her, Megan Rinks,
Yeah.
Lauren Elizabeth. It was just a bunch of them. They all moved out to LA at once. And like you're right, it was LA and now you're seeing a little bit in New York and in other cities. And I think that's nice to see that like as a millennial now you don't have to think you have to move out to LA to make it.
Right, absolutely. And for me, like being in East Tennessee and being a YouTuber in East Tennessee, and I had very little opportunities, or like fellow YouTubers around me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to move to LA. Like 16-year-old me was like, I have to go to college there if I want to make it. And then by the time I was a senior, I was like, I don't think I really want to move out there. Like, let's see what other options there are. So I'm glad that that landscape is changing for other young people, maybe in more rural areas or not as media focused areas can still pursue their dreams like from wherever because that was the whole point of online and digital space is you could do it from anywhere.
100%. It's very, you can work from home, you can work from coffee shops, so many different options.
Yeah.
So jumping, I guess, back into the YouTube and podcast topic a little bit more. So you started your channel 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
Yes, this channel, Hannah Ashton. Yeah, about 7 years ago.
Okay. And the one that you started with your American Girl dolls, was that on this channel or a separate one?
That was a separate channel, and then I even had one for, like, crafting. I've had a few different channels, like a fitness one. Yeah, but Hannah Ashton is the one I've stuck with.
Okay. And I have to ask, when you started your channel, did you have to ask your parents for permission or did you just start uploading?
I did. I made sure that it was okay with them. Their rule starting out was that I couldn't show my face, which is understandable as like a 12-year-old girl. So I would just show my dolls or like show my hands, how to do their hair, that kind of thing. But then I think I was about 15 maybe when I wanted to, jump into the whole beauty guru scene and like do the makeup. And I was like, I have to show my face for this. So then I think they were more open to letting me be like an actual YouTuber and vlog and all of that fun stuff.
That's good. We have baby steps. Start with no face, then we make it to the face.
Yes, yes.
So, was there like a breaking moment where your channel started to take off, or was it like a lot of just time and effort and consistency and creativity that helped you build your subscriber base and viewership on your platform?
I would say my channel has definitely been a slow growth, just a lot of consistency, like you said, uploading usually every week. There's been very few times I feel like I've gone more than a week or 2 weeks without uploading. And then there have been videos that have done really well, like went viral, got maybe a couple 100,000 views or over 1 million views that definitely will spike your subscribers. But for me, it's been, I mean, 7 years and I'm almost to 200,000 subscribers. So very slow, consistent. But I was talking to a fellow YouTuber, Kenzie Elizabeth. I don't know if you know her, but I was talking to her last week about this and how we both have had that like slow growth. And we said, yeah, it's hard to see other people's channels spike and get this a massive amount of followers, what seems overnight, when we've been doing this for years and like building that connection. But honestly, the community we've built is so loyal in the fact that I've had viewers from my American Girl Dolls stages still follow me. And so that's cool just on like a community level, having nothing to do with money or followers. Just the fact that we've kept relationships with women all over the world for this many years. I think that's just a cool achievement that often doesn't get looked at as much as, like spike in subscribers or going viral. So yeah, I would say slow growth with little bits of viral videos helping here and there.
Yeah, for sure. When did you get monetized? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly because I think, in seventh or eighth grade. So I've been monetized for a while. But as I've learned recently from more YouTubers sharing about how much they're making and stuff, is there are ways to kind of use the system to get the most out of your ads and Google ads. And so I definitely feel like I could have been making way more than I have been, just because it wasn't talked about and I didn't know what other people were making and what I should be looking for. So it's all
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely a very like hush hush topic for years. And then all of a sudden it's just you see one person's video go viral and now everybody and their mother is recording what my first YouTube paycheck was and how much I make in this amount of time and if what using these hashtags, like what changes the algorithm. It's so interesting to see, just from like a curiosity standpoint, how successful people can be on this platform nowadays.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's scary too because it can go away so easily, but I think YouTubers are doing a great job at branching out and having many different avenues for, whether it's merch or events or podcasting. I think they're just great entrepreneurs. Like the big YouTubers we see out there, they're doing phenomenal things in the business world, and it all just started from them recording themselves, which is so inspiring.
Have you met any like big YouTubers that are like in the million subscriber range?
I went to BeautyCon in like 2016 maybe, BeautyCon New York, and I met like Remy Ashton. Alicia Marie wasn't there, but other friends of hers were there as well, like Tara Michelle. I think she just hit, maybe she didn't hit a million, maybe she did. But I think Remy Ashton is maybe the biggest one I've met. And I've seen Bethany Moda from afar, and that was
That's
really cool.
cool. That's cool. Yeah, I met Bethany Moda at the Grove randomly. My high school in grade 11, we went on a dance field trip for 5 days in LA, and Bethany like tweeted or she put in her story that she was going to be in the Grove area, and my whole like there was like pockets of us, so we'd each go up to her at different times. And she's like, it's so interesting, I'm meeting your whole dance program, but like at different times of the night, because like we're all going in and out of stores. Like, oh, did you just see her in Pakistan? It was just a really funny moment. She's really sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, she seemed really sweet. Like she'd be fine with whoever came up to her.
Yeah, and she was like, we're like, oh, what are you doing? She's like, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go to Prague. Like, oh, must be nice, like for some brand thing. And this was like
Wow.
years ago. This was like 6 years ago or something. So
Yeah. She was
yeah,
like the
that's crazy.
queen of the lifestyle space, like all the
I
morning
know,
routines. Man.
I know. She's cute. She's cute. Um, so let's get on to like the brand deal topic just a little bit, because I know it's something people are curious about. And I think that a lot of people who are trying to build a platform, I guess we'll just have the question of, do you reach out to brands? Do brands reach out to you? Is it half and half? How does that go for you?
So I would say it's about half and half. Starting out, I waited till brands approached me, like in early high school, and now I tell smaller YouTubers like there's so many people out there that you can't just wait. You have to reach out to them and show them what your unique strengths are. Like, what is your unique selling point? How are you going to promote their product? What campaign can you create for them? Like, you have to do the work now as the creator, as brands are, yeah, they have bigger budgets now for influencers, but there's also more options for them. So you kind of have to tell them why you're unique and what you're going to give to them. But I do have a manager now who helps find me brand deals, but that's very new. So for most of my YouTube career, I would email brands myself just through finding their email on their website or their marketing contact, PR contact, and yeah, just pitching myself to them. And then occasionally I'll get emails in my inbox as well from brands that I've been wanting to work with.
That's awesome. How long has your manager been on with you then?
I think it's been 2 months now.
Okay, so fairly recent.
Yes, and I have worked with network managers in the past, but it's been nothing as like serious or professional as the management I'm with now.
Okay, okay. Do you remember your first brand deal?
No, I do not. It was probably something super silly, probably something with clothes. I feel like clothes companies, like the kind of cheaper end clothing, is kind of first to reach out to smaller YouTubers. And so yeah, I probably worked with someone like that, like Shein or something.
Okay, okay. So what's one of your more favored brand, I guess, collaborations you've had?
Let's see. One for back to school season, I love being able to work with dorm companies, like for my dorm room tours that do really well. So I've gotten to work with Dormify, JCPenney, and the Container Store since being in college. And so it's been really cool to work with bigger, more like household name brands. And yeah, just see it depends because working with bigger brands, there's more guidelines and like liabilities. With smaller brands, they usually let you be more creative and have more freedom with your sponsorship. But it's also cool to have to work with such a big brand name as well.
I was gonna say you probably didn't have to buy anything for your dorm room because you got it all for these videos that you got to create on YouTube.
Yeah, it's been great. And Dormify was one my before my freshman year. I reached out to them and I pitched them this whole video concept because I was like, man, dorm stuff is expensive. Like me and my roommate, my freshman year roommate, we're like, we have to buy table, rugs, like organizers, coffee machines. Like it's expensive to put together a dorm room. And I was like, okay, let me see what company I feel like I could work with. And so I emailed Dormify and I said I would do a haul of all the products I got. I would then highlight the products in my dorm move-in vlog, and then also in a dorm room tour. And so I pitched them these 3 video ideas for this much product, and they said yes. And so my roommate was so happy because we got all this stuff for free. And yeah, it was a great experience of like I was really proud of myself for coming up with the video concepts and pitching it and then following through with it.
Yeah, that's incredible. You said it's expensive to put together a dorm room. I'm gonna just correct you, in a cute dorm room, because I feel like any guy could just throw a bunch of crap together and like, there's my dorm. But for girls, it's like I need the throw and the matching pillows and the accents on the wall. And oh, I want this corkboard, but I want it to be gold because it goes with my accent color. You know what I mean?
Yes, you're so right. Yeah. So yeah, for a cute dorm, they can be expensive.
So, are you still living in a dorm? Or are you now in like some student apartment or place?
So sophomore year, they also require you to live on campus. And so I am in a dorm, but in a single suite. So I share a bathroom with one other girl, but have a room to myself, which has been nice.
Okay, and in first year you had one other roommate?
I had one other roommate, and then we shared a bathroom with two other girls. So it's like four people in a suite.
Okay, okay. And how did you talking about your YouTube channel go with that when you moved in? You're like, I'm gonna need to film videos. Like, do we create a schedule? Like, how does this work?
It was definitely more of a challenge freshman year than this year. My freshman year roommate, she's from my hometown, so we didn't go to high school together, but we knew each other fairly well, and so she understood I did YouTube and all of that, and so I had just basically told her, like, "I'm never gonna kick you out of the room. I'm just gonna plan on filming, like, when you're in class, or if you just text me and saying, like, you're going to Target, like, I'll use that time to film." Or I also had a podcast during freshman year, so recording as well, like, creating so much content that requires good sound or video was definitely hard in a dorm room, but we figured it out and just tried to make my schedule opposite of hers. So, like, if I had all morning classes and she would have afternoon classes, I could then use my afternoons to film. And then my suite mates, they were really cool about it too. One of my suite mates became one of my best friends as well. So she was really cool with it. And, I would just like close the door and I'm sure they could hear me talking or whatever whenever I was filming, but they were great about it.
That's good. That's good. Because I know I ran into the same kind of, I don't want to say issue or problem because it's only an issue or problem if the other person kind of makes it. And my roommate was super chill at the time as well. So I told her I had YouTube videos and she's like, that's awesome. Like, yeah, let me know when you're filming. Like, was very on board with the whole thing. As when I moved into an apartment after I was out of the dorm situation, that roommate did not like filming at all. Like, it was very, I had to make sure she was in class for a good amount of time for me to film. Because even like when you're vlogging, you don't want to be vlogging in the same spot in the apartment the whole time, right? You want to switch up the scenery and move around and have movement and show your
Right.
kitchen. And it's hard when she's cooking or you're in the living room. So I've definitely seen both sides to it. And it obviously makes it much easier when they're on board with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard as well when you're in school, whether it's high school or college, and you want to vlog and show your life, but then not everyone around you is a YouTuber. I've always been very cautious of only filming or vlogging with friends that I know are cool with it. And even then, I find that I actually don't vlog a lot with my friends. People on YouTube are probably like, "Do you hang out with people?" I'm always just by myself or with my family when I vlog because I'm more comfortable. And when I'm with my friends, I kind of don't want to think about work YouTube stuff. So, but yeah, it can be very hard to like make sure you're not getting people in a video that just don't want to be in it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always that like preamp of you just telling them, okay, like I'm pulling up the camera now type thing. Because my brother also does not like being in videos, like very, very like harsh when it comes to that. So yeah, I have to make sure when I'm just recording like in the kitchen or because I still live with my parents, that the camera's not out with, which as my sister doesn't care as much, my dad, my mom, their voices will be in the background. They don't care. It's more just like make sure we're saying appropriate things in the background, guys.
Yep. Don't play music. We don't want to get copyright.
Yeah, literally, literally. So, jumping off the brand deals topic then, and let's talk about networking a little bit with YouTubers. How are you able to, did you either reach out to other YouTubers or did they reach out to you? Did you do video collabs? Because I know I started following Natalie Barbu because of you. Because you guys did an
Yes.
event together, right?
Yes. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
great.
So tell us a little bit about that, how that goes.
I think with all relationships online, they need to be really authentic for them to work out and be long term. And so with all my YouTube friends, it all just starts as like a follow, and then I start engaging with their content, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, and then they engage with mine. And then if I see something on their story, I love stories because it's so easy to respond to something they post and be like, "Oh, I totally agree with this," or "I love this look. It's similar to something I bought." It's so easy to create a authentic conversation over something they post on their stories, and it's quick. Like they're most likely going to respond to that since it has a 24-hour period. And so I find just engaging with YouTubers that or Instagrammers that have content similar to you and just supporting them, whether they find you and talk to you or not, just continuing to give your support, others will notice it as well. And that's really just how you can grow for one thing, but also build those connections. And yeah, so Natalie and I have known each other for years actually. We met up in person at that BeautyCon New York event in 2016. And so we met in person first there and then just kept in contact over the years. And then we saw each other again in person for the second time when she flew into Nashville and stayed with me for the night. And we did a little workshop on how to build a brand as a YouTuber in Nashville. And so that was great. But you can collaborate remotely as well. I think we saw more of this in earlier YouTube, but you can totally bring it back, is doing like a video shout out or just a video collaboration, and where maybe like you give 10 tips for creating a morning routine and they give 10 tips in their video, and then you mention, you can check out each other's videos. You can create something like that, or you can do something more high tech, like an event. But also live streams, I feel like, is where we're seeing a lot of collaborations, like Instagram lives where you bring the other person on. That can be a great way to expose your audience to them and theirs to you. But yeah, just be creative, talk to them, see what their goal is. Maybe they want to grow more of a community, maybe they want to grow in actual numbers. Figure out like what both of your goals are, and then go from there about how you can achieve that goal by working with each other. Giveaways are another thing that people do to kind of collaborate nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. I like that you touched on the live stream thing, because that I feel like that is the new virtual collaborations. If you can't get together physically in person, way back when it was the shout outs or mentioning each other's channel, now it's, hey, let's each have our own little video. Like I've seen it and it's like half screen of one person, half screen of the other person, and you kind of get their
Yeah.
whatever topic they're talking about. I think it's a great way.
Yeah, 100%. And because your followers get notified as well when you're going live with someone else, and vice
Love
versa.
that. Right, right. So were there any relationships, I guess, that flourished that you didn't think anything would come of, or was kind of came shocking, or I guess brought you an opportunity in the YouTube or like podcast world because of meeting these people?
I don't know if I can pinpoint something specifically, but it definitely happens. Like everyone's connected. So working through a campaign with like this brand and a fellow YouTuber, her name's Kiara, yeah, Madison, I want to say. Maybe that may be wrong. I'm like trying to picture her username in my head. But like if they're working on the same campaign, you can kind of be introduced to them, and then they introduce you to other brands that they're working with that, align with you, because they may also want to work with you if you have a similar niche. Actually, this year I met, going back to your question about meeting famous YouTubers, I got to meet Hannah Maloche through friends that she has at Belmont. So she has just her like hometown friends at my school, and I've become acquaintances and friends with them. And they're like, "Oh, I know another YouTuber named Hannah," and they said Hannah Maloche, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she's so famous."
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, so I've gotten to meet her, and then she actually bought my product. She bought my workbook this like 2 weeks ago, and I was thrilled, of course, but also shocked, like, wow, thank you, Hannah, for like supporting me. And I ended up gifting it to her for free, because I'm like, you're a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers, like you're gonna get this product for free. But that's been a cool connection that didn't even come out of like a YouTube relationship, but just relationships with people and at Belmont. And literally any connection is a good connection in the business world. So as long as you're positive, you're kind, you're making connections, they're going to be helpful in the end.
I love that story. That's awesome. So I just want to talk about your podcast a little bit. So I know that you previously hosted your podcast, Dream Achieve podcast, and I was so obsessed with it for so long. I would just like binge listen to the episodes. There was one day my dad and I were painting my room, and I had, I think it was the episode of you talking about your event and like the mistakes you made or things you would have done differently. And my dad was just like stopped so many times, like, wow, this girl has like so much to say about this experience. Like, this is crazy. How old is she? And I was like, 20 years old, or maybe you're 19 at the time or 18. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was just, I like binge listened to them. But I know you recently kind of hopped off that platform just because you found that it was no longer for you. But do you want to touch on your time on that platform and then kind of how you closed it off?
Sure. So first off, that makes me so happy to hear. Oh my goodness, when like parents have to watch my content or listen to it, I'm just like in shock even more and love it. But yeah, I started my podcast, I want to say 2017. So a few years ago. And it's kind of one of those things where I love listening to podcasts, just like starting my YouTube channel. I was like, let's try it. Why not? I used the same equipment I used for YouTube for the podcast. So it wasn't much more of an investment. And I wish I would have like maybe niched down or been more professional with it to begin with. It was kind of like a side thing for me. And podcasts were popular, but I was not seeing a bunch of YouTubers having podcasts like we see now. And so I wish I would have started off like really strong. Instead, I kind of just experimented and was like, okay, we'll talk about business, we'll talk about life, we'll talk about high school, and didn't, yeah, make it very professional to start out with. And so I had it for about 2 years, and did a variance of different interviews, mainly about like business or women entrepreneurs, also some lifestyle content I kind of teetered in between. And I loved it. I loved talking to people as we are here. I loved interviewing. It brought me so many connections. Like if you want to make connections while you're young, start a podcast and reach out to cool people to interview because it is how you make connections and they're very personal because you're talking for, an hour or so. And that was great. And they're easier to edit than YouTube videos. But the reason I stopped this past year, I stopped uploading in 2020 was just because of time mainly, and I wanted to focus my content on YouTube. I was like, my bigger following is on YouTube. I'd rather pour the extra 2 hours I maybe spend a week on a podcast episode into an extra video or into time working on my product business, whatever it may be. So that is why I decided to stop. It just wasn't growing at a rate that I felt was worth the time investment for me personally. Obviously, when you're starting out, you're going to have to put in the time without much results until it starts to grow. But for me, I've been doing it for years. I was like, okay, you know what? It was a great time, had a lot of fun, but it's just not growing at the rate that I want as of now. And so I'm going to pivot and do something else. But yeah, all the episodes are still up on iTunes and Spotify under Dream Achieve Podcast. And there's like 70 episodes or something. So a lot out there for you guys to chew on.
Yeah, there really is. Like that you will find an episode that you like and then you'll be like, "Oh, well, I kind of like that topic too." And you'll just start listening to all of them like I did.
Yay. Who else inspired you to start your podcast?
Who else? A lot of people. I really got into like listening to podcasts in my second year at school because I went to university for a year and I dropped out, and then I transitioned into college. And when I lived away at college, it was the same town, but it was in an apartment, and my bus ride to school was a little bit longer. So I killed so many podcasts on my daily
Yes.
commute there and back. And Katie Belade is one of them. Thick and Thin. It's just hers is so casual and chill. Definitely a different vibe than like an entrepreneur talk or like a tips episode. But she's just doing so much in the space. And for someone who, worked for such a huge corporate company being L'Oreal and then decided to leave and just continue on her own endeavor and just grow it to the biggest she possibly can. It was super inspiring. So I was listening to hers a lot and I was like, you know what? I think I want to start one. And then I listened to a few more, nothing even really specific, just more interview style ones. And it just got me thinking because my dream job has always to been a host of a TV show. But I was like, this is pretty close. Like, I would accept this. This would be pretty cool. I mean, I can't expect to be the next Joe Rogan, but like, I mean, a girl can dream.
Yeah, you never know. No, that's so great. And I love Katie as well. Her podcast is so easy to listen to. I like listening to it at night, like when I'm making dinner.
Yes,
It's like the
it's the chill
perfect.
backgrounds. Like it's not you have to like listen hard. It's just like her telling you about her day.
Right, exactly. And I'm so happy you started too because I could so see you being a host of TV, network, whatever it may be.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So yeah, YouTube definitely allowed me to kind of, I guess, release as my outlet and talk about whatever I want without having to be scripted, etc. Because I even went to one of my profs and told him before I left school that I was thinking of just kind of going full force into YouTube and podcasting for the next year and seeing where it can go. And then I talked about interning at there's this show called The Social, which I'm not sure if you've heard of. It's like The View, but like
Okay.
Canadian version takes place in Toronto, and it's a lot less politics. So it's a woman panel, like there's four or five of them, and they just talk about different topics every day. I'm like, this is essentially a podcast, and they just have each other to converse with. So I talked to him about being an intern there, and he was like, you know what, intern there and absorb as much as you can, but then go and start your own thing because it's such a dog eat dog world. And I honestly like you could try it out, but I don't know how you'll be with like being scripted and like on set. And when you have your own thing being YouTube, like nobody can tell you anything.
Yeah, exactly. I've been on a few TV interviews before, just like local news stuff about,
Mhm.
my event to announce that and things I'm doing. And it's a totally different world. And I hate it because they're like, okay, you have 30 seconds. I'm like, I'm used to being able to ramble on as much as I want and then cut it down, like 30 seconds to get all this out. And like, yeah, the anchor will like have a script and be like, okay, you're gonna go after I say this word. I'm like, okay, okay, this is different.
Yeah. It's very staged.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing because I understand they need to have it cut and clean for TV and there's commercial breaks and they're very time, but I totally get that when you're used to just cutting when you want to cut and recording when you want to record. It's
Yeah,
a
it's just a
hard
different media.
transition. Yeah, for sure. So speaking on that then, how many like what kind of things did you do on TV?
It was just local news station. I remember going on before my Knoxville event to kind of talk about like what I do and advertise that event like a few days before. And then actually, I they came and interviewed me at my high school for something. I think just to talk about like what I was doing, like being on YouTube, being an entrepreneur. I think that's what it was for. But I just remember them coming to my school and like I was taking time out of my day to be interviewed by them, which is always cool.
That is cool, especially because it's a small school. I feel like everyone would be like, "What is she doing?" Like that's so cool.
Yeah, well, by the time I was a senior, everyone knew what I did. Like younger girls would watch my YouTube videos, like all my fellow classmates knew. So I was just a YouTube girl. Still am if I go back there.
That's cute. That's cute. Would you say that people took it well for the most part? Like, I'm sure there's always like the negative comments and people, getting bullied because of it. But did you think that people took it well for the most part? Like, they're very like encouraging of it.
I think so. I mean, I'm sure things were said maybe behind my back or something that I don't hear about, but everything upfront to me was always encouraging. And I think what helped with that is by the time I got to high school, I already had a following. So, like, my freshman year, I had on this channel, I think like 25,000 subscribers. And so it was kind of already validated because I started, the awkward, like, oh, maybe a couple thousand subscribers where people are like, wait, what is she doing? Like, why is she doing this? I started that in middle school and didn't really tell anyone. And so it wasn't until I had built up the audience that like my friends and people outside of my friend group started to notice. And so for me, that just gave me more confidence. Like, oh yeah, I have a couple thousand people watching me instead of 100 when I started. So I think that's kind of what helped gave me the confidence to talk about it and have people have less negativity when I was starting out.
Yeah, I feel like it's once you're more established and people can't really say anything 'cause it's like, well, this girl's getting paid and she has a following. It's not like not that they should treat you any differently for having only 100 subscribers or whatever, but it's like you're kind of starting to be at the celebrity status, I want to say, like in YouTube world, you know what I mean? Like people don't just skip over the channel. It's like, wow, this girl actually has a thing. Like this is like she's doing it. She's doing it.
Yeah, and everyone has to start somewhere. Like everyone starts with one subscriber and then 100 and then you keep growing. So if you're starting out and people are saying things of like, "Oh, who does she think she is? Does she think she's an influencer with 100 subscribers?" Like just say, "Heck yeah, I'm influencing 100 people with every video I upload." So
Yeah.
you just got to keep going and they'll come eventually.
Yeah. So just finishing the podcast talk then, did you have sponsors for each episode?
I only went through a few sponsors. I would say towards the end is when I started to get a little bit more sponsored. And then that was one of the reasons which I also stopped it is like the management I was going through for the podcast had stopped. And I was like, okay, well, do I want to keep putting out the episodes? And so I have a little search for podcast, YouTube sponsor focused.
Sorry, say that last one sentence again.
Yeah, I've always been more YouTube sponsor focused rather than having sponsors for the podcast. A lot of them were just free content that I made available.
Gotcha. Okay. And did you reach out to these sponsors or did they reach out to you?
I worked through them through like another management network. So it was like a manager for podcasters.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So I guess the last kind of bigger topic I want to talk about is your workbook planner because that is such an essential part to you. And it's incredible because I just don't see, at least for the people I follow, I don't see many people selling that. So it's nice to see someone niche down. So I just want to talk about the process of how you came up with the idea, the content creation to it. Did you take the photos for the website and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I created the Dream Achieve Workbook Planner, which is a 6-month undated planner. So you can start it whenever, use it whenever, go through it for, a semester and a little bit more. And then it's also a goal setting workbook. So all the content that does really well on my channel is around like productivity and goal setting, time management, how to set up a morning routine, just because these personal development topics I love so much. And I kind of have niche down in this area. Like I inform myself and then I inform my audience and I go through it with them like, oh, how can we, maybe wake up earlier, do this, do that. And so I wanted to create a product for my audience that was helpful for them as well as for me. And at the time, I had the idea in September of my freshman year. So just like 2 months after starting college. And I was using two planners at the time. One, because it gave me a place to write a to do list for my school assignments. And then one, because it had a time blocking section where I could plan out my day. And since, I try to do a lot in a day, I really enjoyed that. But I was thinking about a product that would help my audience and myself. And what seemed to come most natural was a planner of some sort. I had no idea how to do a physical product. Everything I'd done in the past was like events and consulting and content. That's mainly service. And so I never, created a product. And so again, I went back to YouTube and to Google and just searching like Nashville manufacturers or like out of US manufacturers. What is the price difference? Like, how do I use Alibaba, which is what I ended up going through for a manufacturer, Alibaba.com. How to use InDesign, which is what I did to create the pages. Like, I did all the graphic design work of how the pages and the spreads would look myself. Started out just with paper and pen, figuring out what I would want on a planner page, and then putting it digitally into InDesign just through watching YouTube tutorials. And then, yeah, just kind of created what it is today. And it took me many, many months. So, yeah, I had the idea in September and I launched it this past June, so June 2019. And it was a long process, probably the longest I'd ever worked on one thing. And keeping it a secret from my audience was also tough because I wanted it to be like a big surprise on launch day. And so for all of spring semester, I was working on this big project that I couldn't even talk about in videos or in vlogs, and I wanted to so badly. Of course, that was my decision, but I just felt like I wanted it to be more of a surprise. So, yeah, it's like 160 pages or so, all of content with how to set up your month, how to set up your week, how to set up a morning routine, your budget, self-care, like literally everything that's in the personal development world. It has a page for where you can work through it with my voice throughout the writing, like kind of guiding you. And it's also focused towards college women because we're trying to do so much. And so there's a lot of different pages that are going to help you out. And to answer the question about like the website and stuff, I pretty much did everything myself. The only thing I outsourced was a photographer to take photos of me with the book once I got the final samples. But yeah, I think that's why it took so long, is I was designing it, getting the samples, sending notes to the manufacturer, doing the pages, designing the cover, figuring out what packaging would look like, figuring out Shopify, designing the website. I did it all, but it was again a great learning experience, and it's one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Yeah, that is incredible, especially for your age. Like you've done so much. And I'm like, "Oh my God." Like there's people over here still doing the bare minimum and you're like, "All right, what's next?" Like I love it. So, and especially cuz your audience is so direct. Like you just said, for the girls that literally have so many things to write down their day. Like that's me. Like I'm constantly looking for that page that has enough lines or enough of a box that's wide enough or long enough. Um to write that all down. So I really like that you used, practicality, but as well as the whole self-development being a huge, huge movement. Not that it hasn't been in the past, but to like actually carve out pages for that is really important. And I really salute that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a product that would help my viewers more than just I could talk to them in a video about, but also something that I would feel comfortable like walking into an interview or an internship with and using in my daily life.
Yeah. So how long did you say the process was to create that? Like a year,
It
6 months?
was about 7, 8 months. Yeah.
Okay. And how did learning InDesign go?
It was I made a lot of mistakes. I could have made these pages so much faster if I knew shortcuts early on, but I kind of like jumped into it again, just jumping into things, and then went back and watched tutorials and like, oh, I could set up a table as like a grid instead of doing line by line on how to make like a box. So anyway, little things, but now I am a pro user.
Yeah, like I'm sure if you were to go through this process again or make another planner, then the process would be maybe half the time just because you know all the little things to make it go faster.
Exactly.
So do you have anything else planned for your website, like upcoming? I know you probably don't want to share too much, but
Yeah, so we're coming up on the 1 year in a few months. And before then or around then, I am planning on launching two new products, hopefully in the works. I'm actually getting the final samples of the products this week for one of them. And so hopefully we'll be working on that now that I have all this time. Since I'm doing online school, I'll be able to hopefully spend a lot of time pouring into that and get that out there. One of the products I can tell you about is I wanted to do a digital version of the workbook. So it's going to be at a lower cost point, and I know a lot of students use their iPads or laptops to take notes. And so it's something you can upload into like whatever note taker you use, especially on iPads. You can write on it with your stylus, that kind of thing. And so just a little bit of a different look if you're more of like a digital planner than a paper planner.
yeah, I like that you're thinking about this at all angles. Like you're definitely covering the basis for sure.
Well, thank you. I love it. It's like my pride and joy. It's my business is what gets me up in the morning, and love always thinking about new creative ways to do things.
I like the worksheet too that you launched. I don't know if it was this week or last. That's so
Yeah.
practical and it's so like easy. And you even had like a little animation on your Instagram story of you like highlighting and writing on it digitally.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I do like to put out free downloads as well. Just whatever tools can help you. My tagline for my business moving forward is everyday tools for the driven girl, just because I found that having so much drive since I've been young, it's been hard to find companies with like products targeted towards a younger female, if that makes sense. So like yeah, tools around productivity are all for like moms or working women, and so I kind of want to fill that gap and create tools for high school girls or college girls who are still wanting to achieve a ton. So
Yeah. How did you create the little animation writing on the free download?
I used Procreate. It's like an
Katie
yeah.
Bilates talked about it.
Yes, yeah. So it's an app where you can like design stuff, and I just uploaded that image, and then it gives you like a time lapse video.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
So, what's next for you going forward? So you're gonna do these two product launches. Do you think you're gonna sell merch at any point?
I don't know. Merch is something that I've definitely tried in the past, and it just flopped completely. I will say it, and it's because I don't have like as big of a following, for people who want someone's name on like a shirt, So totally understandable, and that's why I decided to do the workbook planner because it's something more like actionable for my audience to use. So yeah, over this summer, launching those products, hopefully moving to New York in the fall and seeing what that brings, and then we'll see from there where it goes. Continuously putting out content, always uploading and posting on Instagram and stories and all of that.
That's awesome. So you'd say YouTube and Instagram are your main social platforms.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, do you have Twitter?
I do, but I just use it to look at other people's tweets. I don't tweet anymore.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. And the last thing I want to touch on just a little bit was religion and spirituality and all that, because I know that you had mentioned that in the intro of this video or close to the beginning. Um, so what's your background on all that? Like, what are you and
Yeah, so I've grown up and continue to be Christian, non-denominational mainly, and yeah, that's also a huge part of my life that I bring to my channel and my Instagram whenever it feels organic to bring it up, and yeah, that's also kind of what made me want to go to a Christian college, just to have more opportunities for like a Christian community, especially amongst females, small groups. Nashville is a big church area, so there's always a plethora of churches available for you to go to and try out. But yeah, I love talking about that as well in whatever content I can.
yeah, for sure. And you said it was one of your recent vlogs I watched. You work as a barista at the little coffee shop, like in your church, or how is that laid out?
Yeah. So attached to my church is a coffee shop that is donation based, and it's a nonprofit. So it kind of like works with the church. The whole church is obviously nonprofit, but like no one gets paid who works in the church. So it's all volunteer based, and all the money goes to the community basically. So if people come up and they are needing something fixed on their house, or like someone in their family is very ill and they don't have the funds, like the coffee shop donation money will go towards that. And I've been just wanting to volunteer in some way. And it's also a ministry for me as well, as I can just get to know people's stories. And like with my work, it's so busy and hustle and like go, what's the next thing? And having this personal brand, it's a lot focused around like me and what I'm doing. And so I just wanted someplace where I could go and talk to other people and like, hear their stories that are unlike stories I hear from fellow college students. If we have, homeless people come in, like just getting to talk and sit down with people that I'm not normally around and like I said, learn their stories, give them a cup of coffee, minister to them, or just like offer like, hey, we have church here on Sundays, and just be a part of ministry in that way.
That's awesome. And it's not just like you're pouring coffee. I swear you have like a steamer and everything there. Like it's a full blown like
Oh yeah.
proper barista setup, if I do say so myself. Because I used to work at Starbucks. So when I saw you like literally steaming the milk, I was like, so she's not just pouring coffee out of a craft, like she's doing the whole thing.
Yeah, it was cool to learn. I've always wanted to learn how to use an espresso machine. And yeah, we have all of it, like oat milk, almond milk, whatever you want. We got it. And it's Crest Coffee Shop in Nashville. But I sadly won't be there the rest of the semester since the whole COVID-19 stuck at home now. So it was fun while I lasted. And hopefully when I'm back in Nashville, I can work there again.
For sure, for sure. So, um, based on this conversation, do you also take classes in religion and in that world, or not really? You just specifically
So
take business?
mainly business, and then also it's a liberal arts college, so I'm taking like English and all these classes that maybe aren't business but just required. And so in that liberal arts degree, they require you to take two religion classes over your 4 years at Belmont, and it's not just Christian classes. You can learn like world religion or whatever it may be. So yeah, learning
Okay,
a little
cool.
bit, but mainly business and class wise.
That's good. That's good. So, if you were to give any tips to people that maybe already have a channel but are just trying to grow it and they're already being consistent, but just looking for the little things that can make all the difference for their channels or their platforms, what would you suggest?
I would say stick true to content that's just going on in your life. I find the best content of mine is when I'm just sharing what's actually in my life. Like if you're going in the lifestyle route, which is like the niche I'm in, sharing when it's finals week, doing a finals week in the life, those videos do well. Or like during January, New Year, when everyone's trying to eat healthy, like doing a what I eat in my dorm, like by living in a dorm room, like kind of looking at the trends around you and how that's affecting you, and then making content that's just about your life. Like if you are not a huge person into fitness, like don't be making workout videos. It's that simple. YouTube is so personally focused that if you try to copy someone else or do a type of content that's not authentic to you, people are going to see it. For me, that was very obvious. I'm trying like with beauty. Obviously, I love doing makeup and stuff, but if I uploaded like a tutorial video, they're going to be like, Hannah, you wear such minimal makeup every day. Like, why are you doing this 20-step tutorial? Like, it's just not authentic. And I know it's not going to do well view wise. So making sure your niche is what you actually do. And then also, I would say support other people as much as possible. Going back to this, I found my channel really to grow when like I kept expecting people to comment on my videos, but then I took a step back. I'm like, wait, when I watch YouTubers, I'm not commenting on anyone's video. Like it's kind of like it's a two-way street. So if you want people to come to you and engage with your Instagram and your YouTube, you need to make sure you're doing for others and build that or just for a community. So yeah, those would be my main tips. I mean, it's a long and steady process, and you may find luck and something may go viral, or you may be posting for years and just see a slower growth, but it's worth it in the end, no matter what.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sharing those tips. My last question is then, and I should like ask this to everyone: are you happy with the path that your life is on now and moving forward?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I forget I'm still only 20 and so many things can change. Like maybe in 5 years, I'm not doing any of this. And I think it's kind of just coming to terms with each day or each year and deciding, okay, what are my goals for this year? And do I want to be more career focused? Do I want to be more relationship focused? But yeah, as of right now, I'm happy and content. And I have to remind myself, you are young and you don't have to have everything figured out right now.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak to the listeners and let them know what's up.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. You're a great host, and I can't wait to listen to your podcast now. I'm subscribed and so excited.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And that sums up the episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to check out the episode summary of this podcast episode. It will show her social media links and mine as well as in the show notes, it will have all the timestamps of all the topics we covered in this podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in my next one.